With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
Every major company was once a small business. Consider the garage days for the founders of Microsoft and Apple. You need a lot of passion for what you're doing because it's so hard, Steve Jobs once said. Without passion, any rational person would give up. We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. And business, we talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. Get Down to Business is powered by Tandem HR, your solution center. You can find them at tandemhr.com or call 630-928-0510. You can also email them, simplify@tandemhr.com. This week, we will be joined by guest attorney Daliah Saper, State Representative LaShawn Ford of the House Small Business Committee, Alex Korniev, in the world of IT, and entrepreneur Brian Juris. We are thrilled to be joined on the phone with my good friend Daliah Saper, who's an attorney and an expert on so many things. But in particular, I really want to talk about something that I think every business has been embracing and should be embracing, or at least they should be embracing it properly, and that's social media. And Daliah, that's something you know a thing or two about, isn't that right?
That is right, Shalom. We handle a lot of cases involving the internet, especially social media.
Well, Daliah, thanks for joining us on Get Down to Business. So, Daliah, how did you get into this? Most attorneys that I talk to are involved in a lot of other practices of legal work. This is certainly a hot issue.
Sure. Well, the practice started out with an emphasis on intellectual property, trademark, and copyright matters, but the clients we were getting were especially web-based and internet-based. So since the work, was traditionally intellectual property related, but the context was different, we started to evolve as a firm and start concentrating on topics that required an understanding of the web and IP addresses and domain names and how advertisements and meta tags, and I can start throwing out all sorts of lingo ad nauseum. But generally, it evolved. It was the nature of what we did in combination with the types of clients we were attracting that has now positioned us as this internet law firm.
Interesting. So, Daliah, I'm sure you could drop names, but what are some of the interesting scenarios that you've had to deal with, both in terms of the businesses' use of social media and technology, as well as on the employee side? Sure.
Well, the two biggest issues are certainly disclosing information and tweeting and, bad acts online with a simple post. And that can take the form of a defamatory comment. It can be, again, like I said, disclosing a confidential aspect of the business. It can be repurposing copyrighted information and not understanding exactly what can and can't be repurposed. Those are the typical issues businesses have with their employees, not understanding social media and how to use it properly.
And you are an expert on the subject. You're in the Chicagoland area. Many people have seen you on TV, certainly on the radio, and hopefully we'll have you back on Get Down to Business to talk about some more of those stories. But social media is something I know that you're not scared of embracing, despite all the legalities and all the things that people need to be careful about. You're just about as out there as it comes in the world of social media. Daliah, what do you think? Should businesses try to sort of hold back when it comes to getting their message out there? Should they be scared about every turn that they might take?
Well, I think that's a nice leading question, Shalom, but of course not. The more active you are online as a business, the more you can mitigate any potential damaging information or negative content that would be posted about your business. You really need to take control of your own online presence, your online brand, and put out the information you want people to see. And the more scared you are of it, you're going to allow others to create that online presence and brand for you, that's what's more scary and dangerous.
And we live in a litigious society. There are a lot of people out there in the world of healthcare that perhaps might be working as a nurse or a CNA, and I think that there's two sides of this. people need to use some common sense when it comes to obviously not taking a picture of perhaps a patient or resident at a nursing home or in a hospital, but companies need to set policies and procedures in place.
Absolutely. And, policies are important, but educating employees is probably even more important. Many companies call me and they're so concerned about crafting the perfect policy and spend no time or little time explaining the types of actions that would violate that policy. So the piece of paper is important. Having something that forces employees and companies to think about the implications of what they do online is important. But I'd say even more important is an educational component that says, here, let's sit down and say, posting this will be copyright infringement. Writing this would constitute defamation. Doing this would violate your non-compete agreement. And so specific actions are defined and prohibited.
And is that something that you would recommend for a business, regardless of their size, that they sort of put into an employment contract right when they hire either their first employee or all of their employees in their company?
Yeah, I would. It doesn't have, social media policies can be big handbooks or they can be simple paragraphs. Don't be stupid online. You can tailor them depending on the size and scope and nature of your business. But again, most important is choosing the right employees and getting a sense for their common sense level, and then in conjunction with that, educating them on what is and is not appropriate behavior online.
And another question, can companies, one of the best ways of social media engagement with the public is posting pictures, not just words and text. When somebody posts a picture, do you need permission from perhaps your employees that you might be posting their picture on a Facebook page?
We get this question a lot, and it's interesting. Generally, depending on where that employee is, if they're at work and you're taking a picture of them and you're posting it, that's fine. And nobody has a real claim to their image when they're in a public place. The only caveat is if that image is being used for specific commercial purpose. So, yeah, that's part of promotion, right? If you're out and about and you're taking pictures and you're saying, hey, look where we were, that's generally okay. But if you take an employee's picture or anybody's picture and really highlight that individual and use them as the poster child for your ad campaign or for a commercial for your business, then you're going to get into right of publicity issues, and that's not okay.
And are there any things that employees should know when they post something in terms of perhaps not posting negative comments about the company that they work for? Are there any risks that people should be aware of when
that's a touchy area of the law, because on one hand, we want to allow employees to discuss their workplace conditions. The National Labor Relations Board has issued lots of information and materials that employers can read to make sure they're not running afoul of NLRB laws. But generally, you can prohibit someone from, defaming the company, but what you can't prohibit is an employee from saying, hey, my boss sucks because he made me work overtime. So if there's any concerted activity that's trying to shed light on a situation in the workplace, that generally can't be prohibited and cannot be grounds for firing an employee. But on the other hand, if you're saying, if an employee's talking about how much he hates his boss, that is certainly actionable, actionable in the sense that he can get fired, and an employer is within his or her rights to do that.
And sort of changing gears, one of the things that we frequently hear about on Get Down to Business from businesses of all sizes is the challenges that people face in finding really good people at their company. And what you're talking about, Daliah, is so important in terms of setting people up for success when they come in. The good people are able to communicate really, really well, and they're probably going to come in with their own network of people and set up the policies in place so you can have advocates for your company out there and your employees, and make sure that they're not being inappropriate in terms of posting something that might be confidential or posting something that might be defaming to the company.
Exactly.
This is really important. And so Daliah, are most of your clients in the Chicagoland area?
We actually have a lot of clients from the Chicagoland area, but also clients from all over the country and world, especially when an issue involves something like a domain name or a trademark, or an online defamation that emanates out of a different jurisdiction but impacts a Chicago resident.
Well, Daliah, I know that a lot of our listeners will have questions on this very touchy subject, but very timely subject that's affecting businesses, as we said, of all sizes and of all industries. So thank you for your expertise in leading on the subject. Daliah, we've got just a few moments remaining. How can people get in touch with your firm to find out more? And I know you have a blog. I know you have a lot of information that's out there.
Well, we're on every social network, but essentially saperlaw.com has our contact information, and usually Saper Law is the username for our Twitter account and for other social media accounts as well. But saperlaw.com will have all of the information you'd need to get a hold of us.
Well, lots of helpful information from Daliah Saper of Saper Law. Check out her website, saperlaw.com. Daliah, thanks for joining us on Get Down to Business. After the break, we're talking with State Representative LaShawn Ford, the chairman of the House Small Business Committee. You're listening to Get Down to Business, the show that is all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Get Down to Business is brought to you in part by Everett Wealth Solutions, a registered investment advisor and financial planning firm, a fiduciary advisor that helps you create your personal wealth. Find them at everettwealthsolutions.com or call 708-771-7777. You're listening to Get Down to Business.